American Dream Selling Charlotte. I'm your host, Susan Dolan. Today we're going to be meeting with the owners of Lake Norman Brewery. Let's go meet Dan and David. We're meeting with David Waggner of Lake Norman Brewery. Hey David, thanks so much for being here.
Well, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you about community involvement and how important it is for you guys and the big events that you do to support the community. What are those?
We do a lot of give backs at Lake Norman Brewery. We have a lot of venues. We're on 8 acres, so we do big venues from our car shows. We do raffles, 50-50s, where we give to charities. We've done tunnels to towers. Today we had Cool Kids for Cancer. So we do a lot of give backs. Rock Springs Elementary, just up the road, just had their 100-year anniversary, and they did their event here, and we gave $1 a beer back, which was they packed the house. So we gave a lot back to them. Now they've decided to do their quarterly PTO meetings here, and we do the same kind of give back. So we're always being approached by the local high schools, East Lincoln High, North Lincoln High, individual football teams, even Girl Scouts from Charlotte have come up here to work it, because we pack so many people in with the different events that we do. So it's worked out good for us, and it's worked out good for the community.
So one of your big events, I understand, is the car show that you do.
We did. We had a car show today, typically the fall, which today is a little warm, but typically the fall and the winter is when we have our biggest car shows. And today we absolutely were packed, and there's so much talent packed in the garages around Lake Norman. We seem to get new cars, new faces, from a 1928 Ford to a Lamborghini and everything in between. The Bel Air Club, the Corvette Club, they all show up. So it's been, it's just grown and grown and grown. I got to give a tip to Cosmo Ferraro. He's our guy that leads the car show, and we even named a beer after him. It's called Cosmo's Car Show Kolsch.
I'll have to try that.
Yeah, it's really good.
As one of the owners of Lake Norman Brewery, what are your goals and visions for the future?
So ever since we opened about 4.5 years ago, my partner Dan and I, we've taken just about everything we've made and reinvested it back into the company. We've doubled fermentation inside. We're building a stage right now. We do a lot of rock concerts. We love 80s tribute bands. We're just rolling the money back into the company. We have 8 acres, which is unique. So we realize that is a absolute benefit. So we're going to develop this until we get it to the point where maybe we do another one, or see what's next.
Awesome.
Who knows?
Awesome.
Yep.
It's one of my favorite places.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
I'm standing here in front of the brew house with the other owner, Dan Ackerman.
Oh, thanks for coming in today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having us. I appreciate it. So tell me a little bit about your vision behind Lake Norman Brewery and what brought you here.
I came out of the IT industry, and my wife mistakenly bought me a homebrew kit from Costco like 30 years ago. And she thought, well, I'll brew a couple batches, I'll get tired of it, and that'd be it. Well, it kind of festered over the years, and I ended up building like a 20-gallon system in my basement. And then we were looking to retire and move somewhere, so we went down the lake chain, ended up in Lake Norman, bought a house next to my partner David, and I kept bringing beers down. First it was just growlers, and then it was kegs, and then they started going, there's no brew house on this side of the lake, or there's no brewery on this side of the lake. I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. And then one thing led to the other, and next thing you know, we bought some land and put a brewery.
And here we are. Dan, can you tell us about some of the unique beers and brewing techniques that you have here at Lake Norman Brewery?
As I said earlier, starting from a home brewer, it was a big jump to go to a 20-gallon to 500-gallon system. And so I had some help. I brought in some technical help to assist me. But I've always brewed more to style than most people. And I know over the last 5 years, kinds of beers went wild, and I'd never brewed a hazy before. And so right before we opened, I'm on my homebrew system, brewing hazies, trying to figure out how to do that. And so I think hazies, and pumpkin is like one of our beers that are bestseller beers. I don't know if you had it or not yet.
Yes, I have.
You definitely have the pumpkin.
Amazing.
And then come back in another month or two and have Debbie's Christmas Wish, the only beer my wife has ever asked me to brew in her life. And she's critical of, if it doesn't taste right, it doesn't have her name on it, basically, kind of deal. But I'll tell you what, interestingly enough, I think the hardest beer for me to learn to brew was our seltzer, because it's not really a beer, and it's so finicky. Like, any kind of mistake is an off flavor. And the brew I hated to brew, which is now our best seller, is a light beer. I swore I'd never brew a light beer, but don't tell anyone.
Okay.
I dry hop it just a little bit.
Okay. Your secret's safe. Thank you for joining me today on the American Dream Selling Charlotte, where we met the owners of Lake Norman Brewery, Dan and David, and learned all about what the brewery has to offer and the fun community events they support. I'm your host, Susan Dolan. Until next time.